All right, before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon below so you can be notified when I upload the next video. Also, after the video, make sure you check out patreon.com/Vets4Gamers in order to become an investor. I'll be giving away 5 PS5s and 5 Xbox Series X's. On our first version, we're going to be doing 3 versions of our crowd control build. I do understand that title update 10 will be coming, and I'm going to say that in the next few weeks, maybe the next month. I'll say the next month because they're still doing the PTS. There is a gear set that focuses on status effects, but anytime you have a gear set, you lose an attribute on your pieces. So just keep that in mind. So what we're going to do, the first version we're doing is specialization is firewall. Our primary, use whatever weapon you want. The main thing is the talent, which is perpetuation. Headshots grant 50% status effect damage and duration to the next status effect you apply. Cooldowns 20 seconds. It's that simple. For our secondary, we're using Sweet Dreams. It's maxed out also, but the main thing we want to focus on is this talent. Melee attacks instantly kill non-elite enemies. This works on heroic and legendary difficulty. If you have a purple or a red bar, you melee them, they die. Easy. And then for a pistol, it's maxed out also, but we're using, we have it perpetuation on there. That's just in case we run out of ammo or we just need it. Just do perpetuation on there just because. So as you can see for our gear, we're using 2 Wyvern, 3 China Light. Across the board, what you want to do is stack as much status effect and skill haste as possible. Status effect, skill haste. Stack those, you'll be good to go. For our mass, status effect, skill haste, Wyvern, 1 piece skill damage, 2 pieces status effects. Skill damage does come in handy, especially if you're using, say, a jammer, for example. That'll help kill the drones instead of disabling them and then them coming back. Skill haste mod on the mask, and we're gonna keep on moving. On to our chest piece, China Light, 1 piece explosive damage, 2 piece skill haste, 3 piece status effect. That's why we're using 3. Same thing, stack status effect, stack skill haste, and then our mod, skill haste. Talent we're using, there are different talents you can use. The one I'm using right now is Trauma. Applies blind to an enemy hit in the head, cooldowns 30 seconds. Applies bleed to an enemy hit in the chest. This works great if you're using a survivalist specialization, just because you have incendiary grenades. Plus, your allies do extra damage to enemies under a status effect. Other talents you could use if you don't have trauma or don't like trauma. You can use Unbreakable, which I switch this to sometimes because I usually play aggressive. Our DPS players are usually wearing Vigilance and Focused or Perfect Glass Cannon or something like that. So you want to try to put enemies under some kind of status effect as soon as possible so they're not getting down. Also, Mad Bomber actually works very well with survivalists with incendiary grenades. It spreads the radius. It gives it the grenade a bigger radius, so you're able to burn more enemies, if that makes sense. So those are also other talents I use. There's a few other ones you could use, but those are the main 3. But I'm usually between Trauma and Unbreakable, and sometimes I'll switch to the Mad Bomber. The main reason we're using Trauma is our backpack. We actually have Creeping Death. When you apply a status effect, it is also applied to all enemies within 8 meters of your target. There's a cooldown 15 seconds on that. So I'll demonstrate that real quick. I'm going to shoot this enemy here with a headshot, but you can see that the blind kind of spread across the other enemies, and that's because of Trauma and Creeping Death. And then we stack status effect, skill haste mod. On to our gloves. Wyvern gloves, skill haste, status effect. That's simple. I don't want to draw out the video, so that's why I'm just going through stuff. Knee pads, skill haste, status effect. Now this version does have an exotic, and we're using the Imperial Dynasty holster. It comes with status effect and hazard protection. There's nothing you can do about that. That hazard protection, of course, you would want that to be skill haste, but it just comes like that, so you're just kind of stuck with it. But I do have status effect maxed out, so I wasn't going to re-roll it to get higher hazard protection. It wasn't a big deal. The main reason this works is because the Dragon's Glare. With Firewall, you get longer burn duration. Imperial Dynasty applies burn, and Creeping Death helps it spread to other enemies. So one enemy comes within range. If you're not on cooldown, same with Creeping Death, the enemy comes in and it also spreads to other enemies around them. So it works out great. Also with the Unbreakable, if you lose your armor, you can cause fire that way too. Your enemies to burn that way too. And that's this version. This build works great this way. I have 2 other versions for you, but I'm gonna go over the skills real quick. So like I said, on the backpack, we have Creeping Death. Creeping Death is a very strong talent that I don't think a lot of people are using. So for example, for our skills, we're using a blinder. You should know what a blinder does. With this, you want to make sure your blind duration, or your duration of your CC, your skill, is longer than the cooldown. So for example, shock traps. Shock traps work great, but there's always going to be a long downtime between when the duration is up and you actually get it back, which is why blinder works great. And with this one, not a lot of people are using this, but the burn sticky bomb works like great. Applies burn status effect. And of course, Firewall extends the burn duration. So with Creeping Death, I'm going to shoot one. We have Creeping Death, so it spreads to the other enemies. It's not just fire. So this works great if you have like a heavy and you say you shoot the heavy. You can use this also with Survivalists. So with Survivalists, the heavy would still be on fire right now. And now Creeping Death is on the cooldown for 15 seconds. So eventually it's going to proc back again and it's going to spread. And then you'll see all the other enemies catch on fire again from one skill. So this is why you're still using your blinder, still doing whatever you need to do. You still can throw your grenades and everything, but you just see Creeping Death just kicked in again. And now you have other enemies burning again, even though that one's still burning. Then we'll explode it. So that's what works great. That's the reason we're using those skills. But now we're going to go on to the next version. All right, the next version of our crowd control build is going to be using Survivalists. And like I said, Survivalists works great. Same weapon, so I'm not going to go over those. Makes no sense to go over those again. But for a mask, we're using a China Light mask. We just moved some stuff around, but for the most part, 2 Wyvern, 3 China Light. Chest piece the same. We have Trauma on here, but like I said, you can't use Unbreakable or the Mad Bomber. Mad Bomber, for that, like the radius that you see here, for this incendiary grenade is going to increase with Mad Bomber. And then we're using the Costa Go Bag, so you get it back. So you'll throw it, and you'll see I still have 6. And the cooldown for that is 1 minute. So we're actually going to go over that now. The Costa Go Bag, some players will have this, some won't. This works great on a skill build too. You can use this if you're using a 4-piece hardwire, doing skill damage. You can use this also, and then use, I forgot the talent on the chest piece. I mean, there's a talent, I forgot what it's called, where skill kills have a chance to do cooldown, whatever it's called. Anyway, but the talent for this is 1 in the hand, throwing a grenade, refunds it and grants +1 skill tier for 15 seconds. Grants overcharge if already at skill tier 6, which we would be. Cooldown for this is every 60 seconds, which is great. And this will just extend the duration of your skills. It's just going to extend the duration. 2 in the bag, +1 armor kit, 3 grenade capacity, 25% ammo capacity, 10% repair skills, and then +10 status effects. So of course, it doesn't hurt to have the skill damage on the backpack. Like I said, it helps with the jammer and other skills also when they cause damage. But we do at least get status effect on the backpack also, which works. And then for our gloves, Wyvern gloves, skill haste, status effect, China Light knee pad, skill haste status effect, and then our holster, skill haste status effect. And then that build is very similar to the other one, except we just kind of switched around. We're not using creep and death on this one. We do have our blinder, 24.3 on the duration. Our cooldown, I think, is a little less. And then we're using a jammer. This was the last, I was using a jammer on one of the legendary missions, so that's why I still had it on. But you can also use something else if you want to. There are different specializations. Is it gunner with the confuse pulse? I forgot which one it is, but that's a great skill also that works, but it's up to you. Kind of use what works best for you. And then, like I said, also you can use fire starter. You can use that with the other build with the Imperial Dynasty for the burn. You can use that too. All right, so that's version number 2. All right, and version number 3 is the exact same thing, except we have no exotics. There's players in this games that won't have the Imperial Dynasty holster. They won't have the Coast to Go backpack. So they kind of, wonder what they should put and where they should put it. So all high end, for example, on the mask, which I was talking about the gear sets. I will go over this real quick. Like the gear sets, when they come out, as you can see, there's 2 attributes. You have an attribute for status effect and an attribute for skill haste. And I'm missing a mod slot, but that's not a big problem. But you have those. With a gear set, you're only going to have one attribute. So you have to choose between them, and it's going to make sense to stack status effect. This is 9.9 for some reason. I don't know why I didn't roll it up to 10, but that's the difference between a high-end build and actually having a gear set. You're going to end up losing skill haste in some way. And I mean, that's a lot of skill haste you're going to lose. That's 6 pieces. So, I mean, 12 times 6 is 72. That's 72% skill haste you're going to lose. That's a lot of skill haste. So I don't know how good the status effect gear set is going to work in Title Update 10, but losing 72% skill haste is a lot. So I have to test it out and kind of go from there. But at least if you're trying to do the raid or trying to do legendary heroic missions, you can use this. And once you get that, you can try it, or you can choose to stay with this. Completely up to you. For our holster, this is the only piece we really changed. We have a Hanayu Corporation holster. It comes with skill haste. That just helps us out get our skills back quicker. That's the only difference. But same thing, skill haste, status effect. I'm getting stuck at 9.9% on this one too for some reason. But that's the three crowd control builds, which all work great. They all work great, and you can use different skills. There's different ways to do them, but make sure you have perpetuation on one of your weapons. That's the main thing, perpetuation. And having it on a weapon is easy. Obviously, you can have it on a sniper, but it makes sense to have it on something that's got quick fire, just in case you're missing headshots. One of them should hit, and you can proc it, and then you can actually use it. And once again, like I said, trauma, creep and death, headshot, and then it spreads. That's how simple that is. And then you proc perpetuation. So then you can use your skill, and it's going to last longer also. So it works out great. Any questions about the builds, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. I'm also on Xbox, on Vets4Gamers, PlayStation, Vets4Gamers. I have a Pro and an X just because I like both platforms. But like I said, I am giving away 5 PS5s, 5 Xbox Series X's. If you are interested, make sure you go and check out patreon.com/Vets4Gamers. I'll have the link in the description. Check that out. Appreciate the view. Appreciate the support.